Ivan Herrera activated by the Cardinals earlier today. Welcome on in to Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar here on Sports Hub STL. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, it's Friday. It's Ryan Fagan right there. Ryan, Cardinals on a 5-game winning streak. And it's been fun to watch them this last week as they've gotten themselves back to 500.
It's funny how quickly things change. It's a much different feel than when we chatted last time, and everyone was wondering like how bad is it going to get. Now all of a sudden you win a couple games, and not harp on the thing we always talk about, but the bullpen has had a couple of good outings, right? Yeah. And it's amazing what happens when it's not a dumpster fire in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. You can have a good team win games, and that's what they've done.
Your boy Gordon Graceffo getting some work now in the bullpen too. You called for it. Cardinals need to try something as they try to shore up that back end, and Graceffo is the next man up, and so far has looked promising.
I mean, when you see that fastball tick up the way that it has, and you know what he can do, and it doesn't seem like there's a scenario right now where he's going to have a path to start, right? Like a lot of things would have to happen, but he's shown that he can get big league players out, maybe not 2 or 3 times through the lineup, but he's got the stuff that he can go out there and get swing and misses. And that's what you want when you're throwing, 97, 98 miles an hour. And again, it's not like they have like 8 guys waiting in the wings. So, if Helsley is thrown the night before, or if he's not available for whatever reason, Graceffo is a guy that can be that person. And, we talk about this year being still, and it still is, I know they're a 5-game winning streak. Everybody's like, oh, are they a contender? It's still about finding out what guys can do. Right. So this is an opportunity. It could present itself for him to show the Cardinals what he can do. Cause we've seen, young guys get an opportunity in the bullpen, show that they can get guys out and then get a chance on the rotation at some point, even it may not be that first year or two.
The big story today and this weekend moving forward is going to be Ivan Herrera being back with the Cardinals. Thought maybe it had a chance of happening last week. Instead, they made us wait the full week. Has been out for over a month now. With the knee injury that he suffered in Boston. Did they ever really give details on that, or do they just say? They just said knee injury. They didn't really go into details, right?
I mean, by hockey terminology, they gave some
lower body injury,
information, right? But there was never he's going to be out an extended period of time. I think they ideally hoped it wouldn't be this long,
right?
But again, context being what it is, make sure he's healthy. Knees, especially if you're a catcher, no matter. I mean, he's not going to be. He's never going to be a catcher that catches 125 games, 130 games, but still is a guy that's going back there, and knee is a pretty careful thing to watch out for. And I think they just probably wanted to make sure he was all back. He hit the ball very well in his short rehab stint. He's probably been bugging them to get back up anyway.
Didn't catch a whole lot when he was making his rehab stints down in Memphis. But I think ideally, as you said, I mean, they saw the drop off in offense. They saw the drop off in the power production when he left. The first 10 days when Ivan Herrera was in the lineup, this was a team that was getting 10 hits a day, that was showing that they had some muscle. And then he got hurt, and a lot of things fell apart quickly and put them in the position that they were in this past week, where they were at 1.5 games under 500. So the idea was, okay, you know what, we're going to get him back here, and Pozo's done a good job of catching so far. So, hey, Herrera, you're DHing.
And I think that's what's interesting, not surprising, but interesting is the corresponding move to send Luken Baker back down. He hasn't provided the type of power they wanted. I mean, his slugging percentage is lower than his on base percentage, which is not something you want out of the DH, but to send him down and keep Pozo up, it shows you what they're looking to do going forward. Now, I would imagine, we'll hear, Marmol talk today and kind of get an idea of what their plans are going forward. I would be surprised if Herrera's not catching occasionally, but he's not going to be the guy that's catching, 3 or 4 games a week. I would think at this point, because otherwise Pozo's just sitting there, and you didn't keep him around just to sit there. even though he has probably hit as well as Baker so far this year.
Yeah, and both, I mean, Pozo and Pages, you're not, again, having them in the lineup is not an automatic out.
Right.
So you just throw them in there. It'll be looking forward to seeing where Herrera goes into the lineup. I would imagine today, when this is, I mean, it's a 5:45 start time today. It's 1:33 right now. I got to tell you, I'm surprised the lineups aren't out yet.
Yeah,
for the Cardinals, and Wilson behind the screen telling me that they are out. Haven't seen that yet up on the MLB app, but when we see those, we will bring those to you. It's Eric Fetty and Mitchell Parker is your starters for today. Eric Fetty 2-3 on the year with a 4.78 ERA. The big thing with him, and the thing that is the most concerning and is not going to help in any way possible is the walks with him. Yeah. It has become an issue with Eric Fetty to watch game in and game out.
Yeah, I mean, and he's because again, he's not a guy that's going to throw 98 miles an hour. He's not going to get swing and misses. The key to his game is working in the zone and getting ahead of batters. And when you're constantly getting behind guys, and then you're trying to catch back up with stuff that is not elite level. I mean, relatively speaking, obviously he's in the big leagues. He's an elite pitcher. But he has to work. He has to work in the zone. He has to work the edges of the zone. And if you're missing by just a little bit, that's a big difference. And, I mean, he's a guy who understands what he is, right? As much as anyone that they have in that rotation, he's gone through the ups and downs. He understands not only when things are working, but when they're not working, what he needs to do. We've seen him make, in his career, adjustments to fine tune and do what he needs to do. But you're right. I mean, you can't walk guys, right? Nobody can walk guys, but you especially can't walk guys if you're not going to be able to get them to swing and miss on every other pitch. So yeah, I mean, you still feel like he's going to be a guy that is going to, even if he walks, 4 or 5 guys the previous outing, he's going to come back and give you 5-6 solid innings. But yeah, you need to see that.
I was going to guess before lineups came out, my guess was going to be Herrera down in the 6th spot as they see just how back he is before they bump him up to 4 or 5 in the lineup. And sure enough, that's exactly where he is. Mitchell Parker is a lefty. So the lineup for tonight is Lars Nootbaar in left, Mason Wynn at short, Brendan Donovan at second, Nolan Arenado at third, Wilson Contreras at first, Ivan Herrera DHing, Jordan Walker in right, Pedro Pages behind the plate, and Victor Scott II is in center field for the Cardinals. No real surprises there.
No.
I do wonder as the weekend goes on. Tomorrow they face a righty in Trevor Williams, and then on Sunday you're facing Mackenzie Gore. If you weren't facing 2 lefties this weekend, I would be really fascinated to see where Jordan Walker ends up, whether it's in the lineup or on the bench right now.
Yeah, I mean, and facing Mackenzie Gore, I mean, he's a lefty, but he's nasty, man.
Yeah.
He's got the way the ball moves out coming out of his hand is really impressive. And we talk about where Herrera's going to be. I mean, that's kind of where he was early, right? I mean, he hit 6th in the opening lineup, and it's solid power from there. I mean, he profiles the way he's hitting, or at least the way he was as a 3-4 guy. They've been pretty established in having 3-4 guys, and Donovan in the 3-hole and Arenado in the 4-hole. So, I mean, we'll see if Herrera hits enough to make that switch at some point. Obviously Donovan is going to stay there the way he's hitting the ball, leading the
highest average in the National League now,
leading in hits.
Is he lead all of baseball in hits?
He leads the NL.
Okay, I knew he was tied. I knew he was tied in the NL with hits, but led outright in the in batting average. Storylines that we put out every day on Sports Hub STL. If you Instagram, Twitter, all that. I was really, really hoping the other day for Jacob Wilson to go like 0 for 4, 0 for 5, because one of the storylines was going to be Brendan Donovan leads all of baseball in batting average for a player not in New York. Because at the time, I think it was Judge, Soto, and Goldschmidt were 1, 2, 3, and then Wilson was number 4. That's all just changed. It's a mess right now with where everybody is. But for the moment, I was watching the Athletics box score, Athletics Mariners box score, to see how Jacob Wilson did at the plate for a night.
Yeah, man, I know we're not going to talk about, but he's been a fun story. I remember I was at the draft when he was picked, and just kind of listening to him talk and asking him some questions, and just talking about how much he loves to hit and how he had watched his dad Jack, and his dad and Jack, the former Major League ball player Jack Wilson, was with the Pirates shortstop for a long time. He's more of a hitter than his dad was. He didn't want to come out and say it, but his dad was there, Jack was there, and he talked about just the hit tool that this kid has. Yeah.
Jack Wilson's one of those guys where when I saw that he had a son in baseball, where I'm like, I'm not old. I'm not that old. Like that was one. I'm trying to think
that is
who
never
the first one was.
Happening.
I know,
never gonna stop
I know,
happening.
but that was one of the first
Vladdy Jr., right? I mean, he's one
not
of
for
them.
me, and that not for me. I don't think it was. I'm trying to think who it might have been, but I feel like when I heard Jack Wilson's son's in there, I'm like, I'm not that old. Like,
I mean, Dwight Smith Jr., when he came up, I think with the Orioles, and he wasn't there for long, but it was Dwight Smith and Jerome Walton were the rookies on the Cubs, and everybody had their baseball cards. It was the coolest thing ever. And to see his kid coming up, that was something.
Yeah, like Tatis didn't bother me, like Vlad didn't none of those bothered me for some reason. When it was like, Jack Wilson was just in the league like 3 years ago. What's going on here? No, he wasn't. A lot of comments coming in, and we welcome yours as well in the YouTube chat about the reactivation of Ivan Herrera. Bo saying Herrera could go down as one of the greatest hitters ever. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
That's
on
like
that,
saying Aaron Judge is the greatest right-handed hitter ever,
right?
Because he's really good. I'm not sure I'm going to put him up there.
I mean, I would say that and be more adamant about that than what Bio's saying here. Let's have him be the best hitter on the 2025 Cardinals first, and then go from there with that. Like, let's baby steps. The best right-handed hitter on the 2025 Cardinals and go from there.
Yeah.
Like, let's do that. What about this? You mama saying not a fan of a 24-year-old being a full-time
I get
DH.
That. I get that.
I don't. I'm fine with it. Hitters hit. We have gone over that. I have gone over this. I know I've talked about this with you. I know Schaefer gives me shit all the time for it. Like, you can hit, you play. Like, I don't defense, throw defense out the window. If you can hit, give you a glove and put you in the outfield somewhere, throw you at first base, figure it out. If you're hitting, go find a place to hide on the defensive side of things. But if you're 24 and you have a knee injury and you're a catcher, okay, let's not catch you as much anymore. Let's just let you go hit baseballs.
I get it. I get the idea of it, though. I what he's saying. I mean, you don't want a guy that's that young who has shown some improvement, right? He's never going to be an elite defensive catcher. He's shown flashes that he's getting better, and I get that you don't want to stymie that, but like you're saying, I mean, coming off a knee injury, we talked about this earlier, and you've got two good backups right now. Not backups, but you have two other good options, right? Who can come in there and play that. I mean, I get it. At some point, do they, and this is thinking way down the line, but if he's not the catcher of the future, if he's not, as Mary just said there, what is he? Do you have a DH of the future, right? Does he pick up a first base glove to try to be able to fill in when he needs to? He's probably never going to be a corner outfielder. So that, I mean, that's interesting, and that's down the road right now. I mean, right now they need his bat in the lineup, and kind of hanging out on the fridges of the wild card conversation. They need him in there, and they need that bat in there against righties and lefties.
I'll say this too, and I think this is a mindset that I think St. Louis Cardinal fans have. I think you got to think bigger picture, to where the DH, it's here to stay. Like, the DH is a permanent thing, where I think that there is a big percentage of Cardinal fans who have not adapted, have not maybe fully embraced the designated hitter being a part of the lineup every single day, to where you look at it a little different, to where 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you would say, you know what? Yeah, you don't want to, there's only 15 full-time DH jobs. No, now there's 30. Like, now and you go through and you look at it. And I pulled these numbers up earlier, and I know Bernie kind of talked about it in his video. I saw him tweet about it. I think maybe he's even written about it. The DH position in all of baseball this year, Cardinals right now, OPS
It's not good.
They are 28th in all of baseball right now.
Yeah.
In OPS from the designated hitter position, a slugging percentage for their DHs of 261. Slugging percentage
I know,
of
I looked at it.
261.
That feels like a typo. I know it's not.
Yeah,
but it feels like a typo.
They have on the year six doubles and 1 home run. I'm sorry, is that five doubles? 5 doubles, 1 home run is what they have out of the DH position.
Yeah.
The only 2 teams worse than them at offensively at DH, the Rockies, which is at this point a little league franchise.
That still plays in Colorado.
Right.
They should be better.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
The Rockies played 37 games this year. Let's just say half of those are in Colorado, and they're still doing that.
Yeah.
And the Rangers, whose DH is Jock Peterson.
Yeah. Who is famously streaky, and he'll catch one of those streaks and he'll get those numbers up. I mean, they still give him a chance, but yeah, I mean, I think that is true. You know, I think Cardinals fans, because the franchise is operated this way, you can see how when you have the DH spot and you have an excess of players who can play in the field, who can platoon and come in against righties versus lefties, if you have options that you can rotate guys into that DH spot, that's the ideal scenario. Yeah. I think
they might never have Brendan Donovan DH again this year, because the one night they did, resulted in Pedro Pages having to play second base. So they
nice. But I mean, you're right. I mean, the teams, you look at some of these, like, you know, some of the great teams, and, you know, I mean, those Red Sox teams had Ortiz there. Mm-hmm. You know, those Yankees teams had Hideki Matsui there, and they're teams.
Mariners, Edgar Martinez.
And so
the last time the Cardinals had made the playoffs and had a 100-win team, Albert Pujols was your DH the whole year. I mean, that was 3 years ago. Albert was brought on and he DH'd the whole season.
That's true.
And we saw the numbers that he put up that year. So
yeah, that was magic though. That was just like, you almost look at that year and like you can't like try to mimic that.
But that, I mean, that was that since the installment of the DH in the National League. Since did it happen? So I know they did it during the COVID year of 20. Did they do it in 21? No, 21 pitchers hit, and then 22 they was that it?
Which I mean, I thought it was going to happen once they started interleague play.
Yeah.
Like on a full-time basis. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to happen a decade earlier.
Yeah.
Which kind of surprised me that they didn't.
But yeah, the Cardinals have yet to have a full-time DH. And
maybe this is the year they try it.
If you have it, I mean, that's fine. Like Alec Burleson, if they aren't trusting him in the outfield, if for some reason they're just like, hey, you're not an outfielder, which the way Jordan Walker keeps playing, I mean, Alec Burleson might end up being your right fielder for the second half of the season. But if it's Alec Burleson and Ivan Herrera as your DHs going back and forth, lefty, righty, I'm fine with that. But
the thing is, though, as we were looking at these numbers earlier, Herrera hits right-handers. Like in his career, he's got like a 310 batting average. And I know batting averages and everything, but like his OPS versus right-handers is better in his career than against lefties. You know, he hits more home runs against lefties, but you know, he's a guy, when we talk about this, you need a bat in the lineup. Mm-hmm. He's a bat in the lineup, and it doesn't matter who's on the mound because he can catch up with the fast stuff. He's shown that he can lay off the nasty stuff that dips out of the zone, no matter where it's coming from. So I think that's the question. Like, if he's your full-time DH, he's your full-time DH. And then what happens? I mean, Burleson's got to hit when he gets his opportunities. And if it's occasionally a DH, because, you know, I mean, you wouldn't think that Herrera's going to come back up and play every single day right away. I mean, most of the time, but if
he's just DHing though, I mean, if all he's doing is DHing,
still though, I mean, occasionally. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because I mean, it could change. And that's one of the things that, you know, not to go off on a tangent, that's one of the things I love about baseball is the way that you can have all these plans. You can go in a whole off season, say, this is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to work. And then you get in and 40 games in, 38 games in, you're like, okay, maybe this is the way things should go. And that's one of the things that's always fun for me to watch kind of develop is all these best laid plans get scrapped as soon as, you know, 100-mile-an-hour fastballs start getting thrown in there. And then you have to adjust to the way that you're going to approach going forward. And that's that could be where they're happening here.
So I do wonder. I mean, yeah, we'll see. Tomorrow will be kind of with the righty on the mound. I mean, we'll get a quick look at it.
Yeah.
Where is Herrera going to play back-to-back games, and then where do you go from there? Because right now, I mean, are you starting Jordan Walker against righties? Because that does open up a lot more options when you look at Donovan in the outfield or Burleson in the outfield, because you still need to get Gorman his at bats at times. So it's a lot of things.
Well, and then
around.
you look at, I mean, even just at this series, if you're looking at times, right, and you think, okay, well, if Herrera's going to play 2 of the 3 games, right, tomorrow is a 3:05 start, right, and then Sunday is a 12:30. So you'd say typically you'd rest on that off day or that early start, but that's the lefty and Gore. So you're not going to put necessarily Burleson in a DH on that game. So maybe they look at it and say, okay, well, he's going to DH on Friday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And, Burleson will get against Williams on Saturday. I mean, it'll be interesting to see it. Or it could just be like, I mean, Herrera has made the case.
You got Barrero there, who they've been given some at-bats to. So you throw Barrero in the outfield or at second base, and you do have the options of other players. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see kind of. And I mean, this is a big stretch for them, right?
Yeah,
they've been. I mean, as we've talked about a lot, they've been so bad on the road, and this is a 9-game road streak. And you starting in DC, and the Nats have been better than I think a lot of people thought they would be this year. They've got a young core. We were talking earlier about before we came on about the return they got for Juan Soto and James Wood and CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore. I mean, they're a team that's going to be better as the year goes on, and they were already better last year than I think anyone else noticed outside of DC. But those 3 games, then you've got 3 in Philadelphia, and then you've got 3 in Kansas City, and the Royals have been playing really well lately, right? And so, I mean, you're looking at this 9-game stretch, and you think, you want to go 500, right? You want to go 5-4. That's a tough task against those teams, and then you don't want to go 4-5 or 3-6. But so where are the wins coming from?
Phillies are another one of those series that you have where we kind of talked about this last week, where it was Mets Pirates.
Yeah.
And you get them at home now after struggling against them on the road. Phillies are the other way. You beat the Phillies 2 out of 3 when they were here at Busch. Okay, what do you do when you go to Philadelphia now?
Right.
And face them. So it'll time will tell, but you have the Nationals coming up this weekend. A little bit more on the Nationals coming up in just a second. But before we do that, this weekend, why don't you get on that DraftKings Pick 6 app, download it, and use promo code STL Sports. But it's really there's a lot of playoff basketball this weekend. There's some playoff hockey this weekend. Get on there and check out the highs and lows for some of those numbers. Or if you are just a baseball fan, you can get on there and just check out the baseball side of things. Find a guy and find a few guys and pick more or less of stats, whether it's hits, total bases, home runs, whatever you're feeling good about that night. Check it out on the DraftKings Pick 6 app, and do so now and use code STL Sports. You see it right there on the screen. Code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Got to get back into my Roddy bombs this weekend. Tonight, Cal Raleigh, the big dumper.
Great nickname.
He's got 3 homers and 11 at bats against Kevin Gossman of the Blue Jays.
I think he's got 3 homers, 11 at bats against a lot of guys.
Yeah, he does. Have you seen what the video package they do mid game with Cal Raleigh? No. It's the big dumper.
Wait, I heard about this.
He breaks up with people.
That's right.
He helps you dump people.
Yeah. That's the Mariners have traditionally done a really good job with coming up
hot
with
dogs
creative
from heaven.
Stuff like this. Yeah. I mean, even Jamie Moyer back in the day.
Yeah.
When they changed the radar gun to show KPH instead of MPH.
I think that they do the whole like computer reboot thing. I think they were the ones that did that too. So up there, the technology center of the country up there in Seattle. So that's one guy. When can we start? It's May 9th. When can we start talking about guys we want to see in the home run derby? When can that be when can that be something that we discuss?
Wasn't that one of your predictions?
Shut up! It was my prediction. My prediction was Nolan Gorman.
You wanted to talk about the home run.
I do like talking about. Yeah, I do.
That's my only point.
I do. It's one of it. I got to tell you, it's one of the most fun events that I go to every year.
It's
for that. But I mean, I'm just looking at it. I mean, Cal Raleigh's got to be in that.
You would think so. I mean, as long as he wants to. One of my favorite ones was when it was in Miami. And Judge was in the derby, and I kind of weasel my way into the left field stands.
It's not smart to do that. I've been there. It's not smart.
I had a little place. I was kind of like I was away. I was in the line of fire, but nothing came too close. But every time it comes out there, and what you become very aware of is because they're hitting it so quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, people are still reacting to the home run that went over here, and all of a sudden one's coming right here, and. Man,
you remember in Colorado, like we saw the guy jump over.
Oh yeah. I talked to him right after.
Ben was right there filming the whole thing when it happened.
And then people on Twitter gave me crap because at the end of talking to him, and I filmed a little, filmed the interview, and I was like, I said something like, "Good job." I don't know, like it just wasn't off. So everybody's like commenting like, "Good job." What's this guy talking about?
They put us right in. I mean, they put us right into that was. I mean, the folks at Colorado wanted us to get hurt.
I think they probably put people who've been critical of them in the zone there.
So I'll tell you, the Mariners, worst place for a home run derby. They have netting up everywhere. They have netting up all over the place. So there was no good spot to go and try to catch home run balls.
That's too bad.
That year. Yeah. But no, just looking at the overall stats. Yeah. I mean, Cal Raleigh's got to be in there. Eugenio Suarez too. That's one that needs to be in there. James Wood of the Washington Nationals has 10 home runs on the year. Judge and Cal Raleigh and Kyle Schwarber lead things with 12 apiece. And as I looked here and jumped on, was on Instagram beforehand. I don't know if they've tweeted this out too, but MLB giving some love to the Washington Nationals on their Instagram page, posting about the return that they got from the Juan Soto trade back in 2022. The key parts of that deal: CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, James Wood. And right now, Abrams hitting 268 with 11 extra base hits and 8 stolen bases. Mackenzie Gore leads baseball right now with 68 strikeouts and 46 innings pitched, 13 plus Ks per 9 innings right now out of Mackenzie Gore. And James Wood hitting 281 with 10 home runs and 23 RBIs on the year. Those are the 3 centerpieces of that one.
Luke Voigt was in that trade too, remember? St. Louis and Luke Voigt. Yeah. And then another kid, that Robert Hassel, I think, he's been a prospect of one. I think he didn't have such a great 2024, but they had high hopes for him too. I mean, obviously you were giving up Soto with a lot of time left, which is something you don't necessarily see. But man, I mean, the Nationals did very well. I think by any definition, they did very well. And Wood is really just kind of coming into his own, because at the time of that deal, he was just this massive human being with a ton of power who was very raw. But they've done it, to their credit, they've done a really good job developing him, taking him slowly along the way, giving him a chance to make an impact. And he's been fantastic.
Just tried to look up James Wood and Google changed it to James Woods on me, so had to go back on that. 22 years old, and as you mentioned, I mean, a lot of we'll hear a lot of similarities, as you mentioned before, to Aaron Judge.
Anyone that's that tall against,
I say with Jordan Walker, anybody of that size, and. Again, I mean, this is one of the things, like, people, and I saw it in the comments earlier, of people wanting to say that the runway is coming to an end for Jordan Walker. Remember how long it took for Aaron Judge to become the Aaron Judge he is now.
Yeah.
It took a while. There were struggles. There was frustration early on with Aaron Judge.
And Jackson Chourio last year in Milwaukee. I mean, there are a lot of guys that came up and struggled through long stretches. And I mean, and to the point of the fans that are saying maybe their runway is coming to the end, there are also a lot of guys that got a long runway and never figured it out, right? And that does happen. And I mean, it's not gone the way that they would have wanted. I mean, he's had a runway, but I mean, today it was his 200th MLB game, and he's been kind of up and down, and not just like by his performance standards, but the team has kind of moved him around in ways that make you scratch your head a little bit. And I know his first 122 PAs this year have not been what they want, but I mean, if we're talking about reasonable, any sort of reasonable runway is the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And at least the All-Star break. And even after that, probably. But yeah, I mean, and even if they stay, around 500, over 500, I think that's still got to be there, because he's still that talent, right? He's still that guy. You can't just give up on him, because he could, if he figures it out, he could still be that guy. And I think that's what they have to remind themselves.
Yeah, again, also just
sometimes he's still swinging the pitches outside the zone.
Just 22 years old still.
Yeah.
Like it's again, he's young. Let's, if we're sitting here and saying that playoffs are not in the cards this year, then let him figure
even
it
if
out.
they are, it's still the All-Star break. That's the shortest possible runway they can give him and feel like they've actually given him a shot.
Throughout baseball this weekend, one matchup to keep an eye on. Cubs are in New York taking on the Mets this weekend. If we're going to play the standings game and start to look at that stuff this early, now that the Cardinals are back to 500, that's one to keep an eye on. Cubs and Mets this weekend in Queens. So that'll be a big one.
Yeah, they're 3 games back now? Yeah, tied with the Brewers and a half game ahead of the Reds.
Reds starting to fall off a little bit.
And Cubs have slowed down too. I mean,
they have.
Yeah.
They have, and then the Cardinals got Derek Schultz fired this past week, too.
Yeah.
By the way, we talked to Rockies earlier in the show. I wish that they would just put Bud. Hey, Bud, thanks. Like, go. Let him go find a pitching coach job somewhere. Like, so watching the Rockies highlights here lately, like it's just
I don't understand. Like, whether or not it's his fault. At this point, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Right. Not just in this year, but I mean, they're 18 and a half games back.
Yeah.
Through 37 games this year.
6-31.
That's almost
with
impossible.
the Padres in town.
That's almost impossible. And he's been there a long time, right? Yeah. 2017. It's just, I mean, and again, not saying it's his fault, but at this point, who cares? But I mean, then on the other hand, like, what do you do? Like, there's not a manager that's going to come in and make him magically good. I mean, they're spending money on guys like Chris Bryant and then not spending money on guys that they should. And it's just, I mean, it's the Ian Desmond thing, right? They just haven't spent money well. They haven't developed well. And you can't blame everything on the altitude. It's been pretty much just a complete disaster.
That's one where you go and you get a former Rocky to just come in there and try to sell tickets that way.
I mean, at this point, yeah, because you're not changing things.
What's Charlie Blackman up to?
I think Blackman probably is like, you know what? Give me a minute to breathe.
Matt Holliday wanted to be bench coach last year of the Cardinals. Maybe you just give him the head job and let him run with it.
I mean, yeah, I don't think he could stomach that.
Are they? Who has the number 1 pick? They Guardians had last year, then they made the playoffs. So I'm just saying there's the other Holiday is in the is coming through the ranks. So
the Nationals.
Oh, okay.
Nationals and Angels.
Is Holiday
Rockies
is Holiday number 1 or is he?
Keith Law with the Athletic just put his early mock draft out with a note that it's pretty much all speculation on his part at this point. And he was talking about there's really like 4 or 5 guys that are in that conversation. He put Holiday in that number 1 spot, just kind of based on what he thinks the Nationals might do. But he's in that conversation. Ethan, the other Holiday, the younger Holiday, who Jackson has said for years has a better swing than he does.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But yeah, the Nationals are up there at top.
Cardinals and Nationals, 5:45 start time in our nation's capital. Later on today, Eric Fetty on the mound for the Cardinals. This weekend, they are going with Fedde, Palante, and and Michaelis on Sunday, and it's Mackenzie Gore on the mound for the Nationals on Sunday. Post-game shows after each and every game, plus Cards Hub 365 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday as well. For Ryan Fagan, I am Joe Roderick. This has been Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar, here on Sports Hub STL, sponsored by DraftKings. The crown is yours.